Bitcoin is the first global free market that's ever existed, right? And so if you're for freedom instead of control, then how would a country with dictators survive freedom? So it seems natural that Bitcoin would be the solution. Now, in the end, it'll be the solution. On the way through all the short-term machinations of trying to negotiate with that, who knows?
It took a little bit of a hit. We've seen massive inflows. These bought Bitcoin ETFs that got approved last year were supposed to really captivate the market. They have, to a certain extent. Has the price action surprised you here? Or do you think that if we do see, US buy billions of dollars of Bitcoin, that obviously that's going to be a big upside? Because we haven't seen the inflows do a whole ton yet.
We both know that as liquidity dries up in the world, that you either hit a deflationary spiral out of the existing system, which will require not 2008 type of money, not 2020 type of money, right. Orders of magnitude more printing of money, debasing, which will flow into Bitcoin because it can't be debased. But the overall liquidity in markets when they're really tight, what sells off is the thing you can sell. You can't sell your house if it's fallen way under value. And if you had Bitcoin and you had to sell, you'd sell the thing on the weekend that you could sell. And it's impacted as well. But I tend to look at it as a lag, right? So of a timing with a lag that says, if this continues to happen, the lag is going to be a deflationary spiral out of the existing system. And Bitcoin will also price in when the money's it'll sniff out when the money's about to be printed. Right. And it'll start, just like it did in 2020. In March of 2020, I think it dropped to $4,000. And then it skyrocketed as the liquidity it was being printed into.
The market was all about Bitcoin, but we have picks and shovels now. We have companies that touch it. We have MicroStrategies. We have other companies that are, front running the sovereign wealth funds, if you think about it, and buying Bitcoin in their own assets. I'm curious where you think this is going to go over the next year. I mean, it seems that Trump has really moved fast on some of these calls already in the first 90 days. Where do you think this is going to go?
Yeah, I think he needs to do this. I think he needs to drive. He needs to inflate into something, and that would be either gold or Bitcoin, potentially both. And he needs to inflate the dollar into something that can't be debased and he needs to do it before other countries do it, because it will turn into game theory. If you see the layers on top of this, so what our fund does is we're investing in the picks and shovels. We're investing in all of the businesses that are being built on top of it. And so what does that look like in a fund? Bitcoin has an IRR of 45%. I would say that is the risk-free rate of the world right now. People think the risk-free rate is the 10-year bond rate, but it has risk because it has all that counterparty risk to all of the debt that is already insolvent. This doesn't have risk because you can hold it in self-custody and be outside of the system. And it has a 45% IRR. So if you're investing in companies on top of that, and those companies are turning profitable and they're adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet each month, right. You have venture capital returns on top of a venture capital asset. That is, and why would that exist? Is because the market is consolidating over here, and the free market is creating all of this value to be where the market's going. If I have something that's decentralized, secure, bounded by energy, then I know for sure it's repricing the entire world. And so why would I sell that for a piece of paper? Right. And so there isn't a price too high that I would move my piece of paper or that I'd keep my piece of paper. That is my functional currency as I think about it, as my store of value. And again, fear, greed, the confusion of these two systems and the confusion of how fast technology is moving and the misunderstanding, people are going to make all sorts of bad bets on this. Right. I'm just going to tell you how I look at it. Yeah. And the deeper you are into understanding this, that it can't be broken, that it's really hard to break because of the consensus mechanism, then you realize, this is very different, and there isn't, you do what Michael Saylor is doing.
Right. You just keep buying. You just keep buying. Obviously, we've seen a lot of BRICS nation countries kind of come together, even talking about, offering their own gold-backed currencies at some point. So are you thinking that with Trump in power, he's trying to put a stop to this? We know through his campaign, he said, no, that'll never stop.
And we have to go back to first principles. If the natural state of the free market is deflation,
right,
then unfortunately that means you've never lived in a global free market. It means you've lived in a control system. And I hate saying that, but that means that control system has to centralize faster. As technology is supposed to give you more abundance, as AI is, because prices fall to the marginal cost of production. Mm-hmm. As AI moves faster and faster and merges with robots, the output of that, because we use it, should be faster abundance. But that can't flow to you from a system based on credit, where the credit would collapse if you allowed the deflation to happen. Right. So it has to concentrate. And so all of the things trying to concentrate it are against the natural state of the free market. I'm not saying that most people don't know what I just said, and it's such a big deal, right? That they will measure their prices in the piece of paper and give more energy to the system that's consolidating against them, right, and totally believe that this person's going to fix it, and this person. It's not a person problem, it's a system problem. Mm-hmm. And if we want to live in free markets where ideas flow generally and the productivity around the world flows to us from it, then there's only one choice, and it's Bitcoin. Now, that's going to impose a wholly different set of rules, mm-hmm, on the establishment and all of the establishment, because, and I mean in China, in Russia, in US, because they're trying to negotiate with something that is true, that is decentralized, secure, bounded by energy. And it's not negotiating with what we think it is, because the free market requires prices fall. Right? It's a requirement. If anybody can disprove to me that the natural state of the free market is deflation, if they can say that then what creates inflation? Mm. Right? And it shouldn't be measured from zero. It should be measured from the productivity rate, which would be negative. So we know for sure what I just said is true, right? We know in that model, prices follow the marginal cost of production. Marginal cost of production of a line of code, creating other lines of code, is zero. Right, right. We know prices follow the marginal cost of production or the utility value. We know this is for sure, yet we price everything going up. Means we are not in a free market. We're contributing to a more and more centralized market. But free markets are more competitive, they're more productive. And so if you're investing in the free market, if you have your time in the free market, which the only one in the world is Bitcoin, then you're emerging as the first truly global free market, and your returns will be so much better. Your life will be better.
The doomsday clock, if you're not familiar with it, it moved to 89 seconds to midnight, citing nuclear tensions, AI weaponization, climate risks. That's the most here. I mean, it's getting a little bit nervous. I told you that before coming to air, and you said it's only getting more chaotic. Talk to me about what that chaos means.
So I wrote my book 5 years ago, The Price of Tomorrow, mm-hmm, describing exactly what would happen as a credit-based system that we had always lived in and we thought was right. Our measurement of everything inflated and stole more of the productivity that should flow to us. I said it would rip us apart. And how do you get elected in that? There has to be an enemy within your country. And then you get elected by consolidating more power. But the enemy in your country, somebody has to be bad. And then how do you stay elected? You have to create an enemy outside your borders, and you go to war as you centralize. And then you reset the currency through war. You set up all the people that get killed. You set up new institutions. You say, we'll promise never to do that again. And it starts again. That is a global history of money, and us within it, fighting that. So why would anything be different, right? What's different here is Bitcoin has resolved that paradox, mm-hmm, by imposing a new system that we can't, or the worst in us can't overcome it. It can't be cheated. So it's imposing this discipline. Well, most people are giving their energy to the system that's feeding off their energy. So they're trying to work harder and harder and harder in a system that's debasing, and they think there's some person that can be that is solving it. And it's easy to fall into a trap that would yes, those bad people, let's go to war with those bad people. It has to happen, right? And so that doomsday clock is a representation of the system that most people are feeding their energy to. If they moved their time to the system that can't extract their energy, they would be moving their time to the system that is the first global free market. They would be making all of those things. They would be taking the money that's stolen from them and putting it somewhere else. So what drives the timing? Right. So we know right now, in that, so people are thinking, when's the light switch? They're asking Bitcoin when the light switch is. Well, it's repricing it, right? So every moment that you move more time in, if you're spending 2% of your time understanding Bitcoin, spend 4%, spend 8%. Every time you spend more time, your life will get better. You will understand that you're now not being debased, and you'll move more time. So what drives the timing of this? It's us. It's all of us deciding which system we're feeding. Are we feeding the honest system, or are we feeding the dishonest system? And we'll tell ourselves in the dishonest system. We'll know for sure that the free market is deflationary, and we'll price everything else in the inflationary, trying to make enough money to be able to beat the other guy in that system. So it's not. I'd like to say there is no they. It's we. Right. And so when it's not. It's when you decide. So
it sounds like it's designed to keep people in the rat race. That'll keep sustaining this whole thing.
And we stay in this because even if you thought about AI, is there any danger of AI if the prices fall to zero of AI? Probably no danger at all, right? Because we all get the benefit of AI. So why would the big AI companies be driving fear into AI? Because then you can regulate it and you can extract wealth from the fear. Same thing in the system. The fear keeps people stuck, and they feed off that fear, and they spend more time in that system. And they don't see that there's an alternative path that looks totally different.